The most irresistible woman I ever knew never said a word to get his attention. She was sitting in a coffee shop when this man, tall, confident, the kind who usually commanded every room, walked in and froze. Not because she was the most beautiful woman there, not because she was dressed to impress, but because she was completely, utterly present with herself. And in that moment, I understood something profound. Attraction isn't about what you say or do to someone. It's about who you are when no one's watching. Sister, let me tell you something that might sound backwards. The moment you stop chasing, you become worth chasing. I learned this the hard way after years of exhausting myself trying to be interesting, trying to be funny, trying to be enough. I remember this one night, I was at a gallery opening and I'd spent hours perfecting my outfit, rehearsing clever things to say. But when I got there, I felt like a performer who'd forgotten her lines. Then I saw her, a woman in a simple black dress, standing alone in front of a painting. She wasn't working the room. She wasn't networking. She was just absorbed, completely lost in the art. And every person who passed her seemed to slow down, drawn by something invisible yet undeniable. That's when it hit me. Magnetic presence isn't about what you project outward. It's about how deeply you connect inward. Here's what psychology tells us that our grandmothers knew instinctively. People are drawn to those who seem content in their own skin. There's a neurological reason for this. Our brains are wired to seek what feels rare, what feels authentic, what feels complete. When you're comfortable with silence, when you can sit with yourself without needing to fill every moment with noise or performance, you activate what researchers call secure attachment signals. You become a safe harbor in a world of storms. And honey, nothing is more attractive than someone who doesn't need you to complete them, but chooses to share their completeness with you. I used to think availability was kindness. I'd answer every text immediately, say yes to every invitation, be whatever anyone needed me to be. But I was invisible not because I wasn't enough, but because I was everywhere at once. Then I learned the power of strategic absence. Not playing games, not manipulation, but genuine selectivity. I started asking myself, is this aligned with who I'm becoming? Before every yes, I'd pause. Before every response, I'd breathe. I remember the first time I said, I'd love to, but I have plans with myself tonight. The silence on the other end wasn't awkward, it was intrigued. Because in a world where everyone is available, someone who isn't becomes automatically more valuable. Here's a secret that took me years to understand. People fall in love with how they feel about themselves when they're with you. Not with who you pretend to be, but with who they become in your presence. I watched this unfold with my friend Melody. She had this way of listening, not the kind where you're waiting for your turn to talk, but the kind where she'd lean in slightly, her eyes would soften, and suddenly you felt like the most fascinating person in the world. Men didn't chase her because she was perfect. They chased her because she made them feel perfect. When you're fully present, when you're not anxiously trying to impress, you create space for others to be their best selves. And once someone experiences that feeling, they'll move mountains to experience it again. I need to tell you about the night I finally understood my own power. I was at dinner with someone I'd been seeing, and he was telling me about his ex, how she was crazy and needy. Old me would have made mental notes. Don't be crazy, don't be needy, be the cool girl who doesn't care. But something in me had shifted. I put down my fork, looked him in the eye and said, "It sounds like she was in pain." Not judgmental, not defensive, just truthful. The way he looked at me in that moment, like I was speaking a language he'd forgotten existed, showed me something profound. Emotional sovereignty isn't about being unaffected. It's about being so secure in your own emotional landscape that you can witness others' storms without being swept away by them. It's about responding rather than reacting. It's about being the lighthouse, not the ship lost at sea. Boundaries aren't walls, darling. They're invitations. They say, "This is how you love me well." They say, "This is where I begin and you end." They say, "I respect myself enough to teach you how to respect me." I used to think boundaries would push people away, but what I discovered is that healthy boundaries attract healthy people and repel those who aren't ready for what you're offering. When you can say no with grace, when you can walk away with dignity, when you can love someone without losing yourself, that's when you become irresistible. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're actually hard to get. There's a difference. The most transformative realization I ever had was this: the relationship you have with yourself is the template for every other relationship in your life. If you abandon yourself for others, you teach them that abandonment is acceptable. If you neglect your own needs, you attract people who will neglect them too. But when you become your own best friend, when you court yourself with the same energy you'd give to someone you're falling in love with, something magical happens. You start radiating this self-possession that's absolutely magnetic. I started taking myself on dates, to museums, to concerts, to quiet cafes where I'd sit and write. I started dressing for myself, cooking for myself, celebrating my small victories. And slowly, I watched as the quality of people drawn to me completely transformed. Real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself or demand attention. It's the quiet knowing that you belong wherever you are, that you're enough exactly as you are, that you don't need external validation to confirm your worth. I see women trying to be confident by talking more, laughing louder, being more agreeable. But true confidence often speaks in whispers. It's the woman who can sit comfortably in silence, who doesn't rush to fill awkward pauses, who trusts that her presence alone is a gift. When you're not performing, when you're not trying to prove anything, you create space for authentic connection. And authentic connection is what turns attraction into something deeper, something lasting. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't need to become someone else to be worthy of love. You need to become more fully yourself. The right person isn't looking for a performance, they're looking for presence. They're not seeking perfection, they're seeking authenticity. The most powerful thing you can do is to show up as exactly who you are, without apology, without explanation, without the desperate need to be chosen. When you choose yourself first, when you become your own safe space, you naturally attract people who recognize and honor that sacred self-relationship. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Stop trying to be interesting to everyone and start being interested in yourself. Stop trying to be chosen and start choosing yourself. Stop trying to be perfect and start being present. Your magnetism isn't something you need to create, it's something you need to uncover. It's already there, underneath the layers of shoulds and supposed toss and strategies. It's in your laugh when something genuinely delights you. It's in your passion when you talk about what you love. It's in your compassion when you extend grace to others and to yourself. You are not a project to be improved. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a miracle to be witnessed, a story to be told, a love to be experienced. The right person won't need to be convinced of your worth. They'll recognize it immediately, like finding water in the desert, like coming home after a long journey. Trust that. Trust yourself. Trust that your authentic presence is the most powerful gift you can offer the world. And remember, beautiful soul, you're not learning how to make someone chase you. You're learning how to be so magnificently yourself that the right person can't help but be drawn to your light. That's the real magic. That's the real power. That's the real love.